There's a fair amount of dry marijuana, magic mushrooms, cocaine. I mean, that's going to surprise people.
But important.
Imagine a silence so profound, it screams. Not the quiet of peace, but the chilling hush that descends when Hollywood's most powerful figures are scrambling to bury a truth too explosive to ever reach the headlines.
That shouldn't affect him too much, but it just shows he's a very stupid man. Because there's so many instances. I mean, one of the things that he's been complaining about...
magic mushrooms and kind of, oh,
you
you
idiot.
idiot. Why would you
idiot.
say
For days, the whispers have grown louder, painting a picture so disturbing it rips the facade right off the royal fairy tale. We're talking about Prince Harry, whose name has been trending again, not for charity work or heartfelt memoirs, but for something far darker. According to a confluence of insider whispers and undeniable underground buzz, something profoundly unsettling just went down behind the gilded gates of Montecito.
Harry wasn't even there for Archie's 6th birthday. There's clearly trouble in paradise, and she's trying to cover it up, and she thinks that we are stupid enough to fall for that crap.
While the palace remains eerily quiet, the details seeping out are enough to leave jaws on the floor, promising to unravel one of the most protected narratives in modern celebrity history. You think you know this story? You're about to discover a reality infinitely more complex and devastating. The initial shockwave hit when reports began to surface. Prince Harry was allegedly found unconscious in his California home. And this wasn't some random fainting spell or a quiet moment of repose. It was being tied to heavy, long-term personal struggles with substances. But here's where the narrative fractures, revealing a chilling twist that few could have predicted. While her husband was reportedly in a critical state, Meghan Markle, instead of being by his side, was allegedly absent. Not just physically, but seemingly, emotionally. Worse yet, the whispers claim she reportedly bolted from the scene, choosing instead to party with her inner circle at a private members-only club, laughing it up while Harry was being rushed for emergency medical attention.
I mean, I think one of the greatest pull factors of the royal family is the mystery behind it all. The fact that people don't know a lot of what goes on behind closed doors. And that's where Meghan's got it all wrong, because she's broadcast her entire life out to us, and we've actually judged it, and we've said that's kind of bland and boring and actually quite sad.
Yeah, let that sink in for a moment. This wasn't a panicked escape. It was, according to some, a calculated move to create an alibi, a deliberate disengagement from a crisis that could shatter everything. Most people completely missed this crucial detail, swept up in the immediate drama, but for those watching closely, it spoke volumes about priorities and the chilling reality behind Hollywood's most glamorous couple. This wasn't just a bad night, it was a deeply unsettling glimpse into a marriage and a life teetering on the edge. Here's where things get really messy, painting a picture far more intricate than any tabloid headline could convey. According to highly placed sources intimately familiar with the Royal Protection Squad, it was Harry's longtime bodyguard, David Langdown, who made the horrifying discovery. This isn't just some hired muscle, a nameless face in the security detail. David Langdown is a decorated former Scotland Yard officer, a man who has been a constant loyal presence beside Harry since the early 2000s, even earning a medal from the late Queen herself for his unwavering dedication. His job, quite literally, is to keep Harry alive. And in that moment, in the shadowed quiet of Montecito, he may have done just that, making the call that no one else dared to. The fact that it was David, a man so deeply woven into the fabric of Harry's life, who stepped in when others allegedly turned away, adds a heartbreaking layer of betrayal to this unfolding tragedy. This seemingly random event connects to everything, revealing a pattern of alleged enablers and silent onlookers. You probably think this is where the story ends, a tragic incident and a loyal protector. You're wrong. This is merely the surface of a scandal so deeply entrenched in the royal family's past and Hollywood's present that its full unraveling promises to expose secrets they've spent decades trying to bury.
Harry is as erratic and unstable as a lot of us have been speculating.
Do you think the Princess of Wales would have deliberately worn a Victoria Beckham outfit to show some kind of
I think
sign?
she would have done, yeah.
Harry being caught up in rumors of personal struggles isn't exactly breaking news for anyone who has followed the royal family for more than a decade. The whispers, the hushed conversations among insiders, and the occasional explosive tabloid report about his past lifestyle choices have circulated for years. But this feels different, far more severe, a tipping point perhaps, from a rebellious phase into something far more dangerous. Because what's being alleged goes beyond casual experimentation. It speaks to a deep, consuming struggle that has now potentially culminated in a life-threatening incident. There's mention of various types of substances, everything from marijuana and magic mushrooms to more serious illicit compounds. While the specific details are still emerging, and we must always remember to separate speculation from confirmed fact, the sheer volume of these claims and the consistency across different insider accounts are impossible to ignore. This wasn't just a wild night out or a blurry Vegas Strip memory that Harry could laugh off later. This was reportedly full-on unconsciousness, a terrifying collapse followed by an emergency dash to a private California hospital. It's being claimed that he was in recovery for hours before stabilizing, the kind of critical situation where every second counts, and the people who should have been by his side, providing comfort and support, were nowhere to be found. This absence, this alleged abandonment during a medical crisis, fundamentally reshapes the entire narrative of their public image, exposing a chilling reality that most fans could never have imagined. Instead of sticking around, Meghan allegedly dipped immediately, not in a panic, but with a deliberate intention to create an alibi, a public record of her whereabouts that would contradict any suggestion of her involvement or even her knowledge of Harry's dire state. And this isn't just speculation or idle gossip circulating in the more salacious corners of the internet. It's being said she was seen at an exclusive members-only club on the very same night, just hours after Harry's alleged collapse, laughing it up with friends like nothing of consequence had transpired. Imagine that scene. While one half of the world's most famous power couple was fighting for his life, the other was reportedly sipping champagne, completely detached. Hold on, it gets worse. This story isn't just about one spectacularly bad night. There's a dark, unsettling undercurrent running through it all, a pattern of behavior and alleged enabling that stretches back years. Because if these reports are even half true, then Harry has been spiraling for what feels like an eternity.
Anything quite so strange and bizarre of Prince Harry
losing his grip on reality, and no one with real power, either within his immediate circle or the broader royal establishment, has effectively stepped in to help. The palace knew, they always do. Even respected biographers like Penny Junor, who has documented royal life for decades with an almost forensic precision, have hinted that Harry's deeper issues with substances go way, way back, long before Meghan ever entered the picture, suggesting a deeply rooted problem that was consistently swept under the royal rug. Let's rewind the clock, because to truly understand the current crisis, you need to see the insidious pattern that developed over decades. In the early 2000s, whispers first started circulating about Harry experimenting with marijuana and alcohol, framed by the royal PR machine as typical teenage rebellion, nothing more. But according to multiple consistent insider accounts, his behavior escalated quickly beyond typical youthful indiscretion, leading to harder substances, frequent blackouts, and some truly serious behind-the-scenes panic from royal aides. Yet, when he got caught, when the stories threatened to break through the carefully constructed facade, instead of facing any real consequences or receiving genuine intervention, Prince Charles reportedly did something almost unbelievable. They reportedly built a damn private nightclub inside Highgrove, Harry's childhood home, a desperate, misguided attempt to keep the chaos controlled and out of the public eye. A literal private nightclub, as if that was ever going to solve a deeply ingrained problem. Even crazier, there are now resurfacing stories that go back as far as 2007, showing Harry engaging in behavior most people wouldn't believe was possible for a royal prince, specifically snorting vodka, not drinking it, snorting it. Who even thinks of doing something like that? And no, this wasn't some isolated college prank. Medical experts have repeatedly warned that method sends alcohol straight to the brain, bypassing the liver, and can cause death almost instantly. And yet back then, the media barely touched the story, quickly suppressing the explosive details. Why? Because News of the World, one of the few outlets brave enough to go there, was conveniently shut down over a completely different scandal, and the rest of the press remained eerily silent, turning a blind eye to a prince on the brink. This seemingly random event connects to everything, setting the stage for what would become a far more pervasive issue. While all this alleged chaos was unfolding around Prince Harry, Meghan Markle's name kept popping up, but not in a supportive, empathetic context.
He's going to have to pay £1.5 million, by the way, after losing this case. This is a very lengthy, very expensive case to the taxpayer.
Yeah.
And he was in court that week, and his lawyers were arguing that his life was at stake in the UK.
Sources close to the situation are now openly stating that she has been fully aware of Harry's deep-seated issues, not just for months, but for years, raising disturbing questions about her role in his ongoing struggles. Some even go as far as to suggest, with chilling specificity, that she has been actively enabling his personal challenges, allegedly using them as a twisted tool for control. The claim is that she keeps Harry in a dazed, dependent state, a fog that prevents him from truly grasping the reality of his situation, while she meticulously handles the narrative, shaping the public perception to her advantage. It's a truly chilling claim, painting a portrait of manipulation that extends far beyond typical celebrity relationship dynamics, suggesting a calculated strategy rather than genuine affection. But what makes this accusation even more unsettling is that it isn't coming out of nowhere. It's rooted in what some describe as a long-standing pattern, whispers that have quietly circulated in certain circles for years. You think that's bad? Keep listening, because it gets far, far more complicated. What really sets this entire situation on fire, adding an infernal glow to the already murky waters, is Meghan's past, long before she ever became the Duchess of Sussex, before the glittering wedding and the global spotlight. She had already built a specific reputation among certain circles in Hollywood, and not surprisingly for her acting chops or philanthropic efforts. People who attended her first wedding in Jamaica still talk about the party favors they received, and no, we're not talking about custom candles or heartfelt thank you cards. Guests allegedly received gift bags with pre-rolled special cigarettes inside, hand-prepped, it's claimed, by Meghan herself. Some attendees didn't even realize what they were discreetly carrying until they were safely back in the US, a detail that could have landed them in serious legal complications, highlighting a brazen disregard for rules and consequences. That little stunt alone paints a picture of someone who isn't exactly new to the scene of illicit substances, suggesting a comfort level that goes beyond casual exposure. Then there's Doria Ragland, Meghan's mother. Insiders claim Doria has her own history with certain elements of California's underworld and allegedly still maintains deep ties to some not-so-clean circles. Whether or not those specific allegations are definitively true, the narrative being whispered behind closed doors in royal and Hollywood circles alike is that the Markle women have always known where to acquire what they needed, and perhaps more ominously, how to keep people in line through various means. This theory becomes far darker, far more disturbing, when you consider what people are now openly saying about Meghan's alleged hold over Harry, suggesting it's less about love and more about leverage. The idea isn't just that she tolerates his addictions, it's that she allegedly uses them as a leash, a psychological tool to keep him compliant, quiet, and dependent, effectively broken and under her control. But this isn't just about one woman and her alleged influence. The real shock, the seismic revelation, is how many powerful people around Harry have known about this for years and stayed shockingly silent. From palace insiders who've served for decades to veteran royal reporters who've documented every breath of the monarchy, everyone seems to have a story about Harry getting out of hand. Stories about wild behavior, erratic drug-fueled rants, sudden violent outbursts, and raw emotional breakdowns hidden behind the scenes. And yet, every single time it got close to leaking, when the truth threatened to pierce the carefully woven veil of public perception, the story would magically disappear. Royal family PR teams would swoop in, executing a masterclass in damage control, strategically slapping a charity project or a heartwarming military photo op over the scandal, and Harry would be safely back in the public's good graces by Monday morning, his image meticulously restored. There was even a documented case buried deep in old tabloid clippings that few remember, where Harry reportedly inhaled an entire canister of relaxing gas during a hospital visit, the kind of canister that's strictly regulated and only administered by medical professionals. So how did he get his hands on it? Why was it ignored? These are piercing questions no one in the mainstream press seems willing to ask, perhaps because they already know the answers and fear the catastrophic fallout of truly exposing the royal family's intricate web of protection and denial. And then there's the military connection, a chapter of Harry's life often lauded as his redemption, but which, according to new whispers, might hide even more uncomfortable truths. There's chatter now that during his time in the armed forces, a period designed to instill discipline and rigor, drug tests were conveniently avoided or even, in some astonishing claims, faked. One former palace staffer, speaking under strict anonymity, alleged that when a surprise test was announced across the base, Harry was immediately and mysteriously flown out of the area on urgent palace business. Another source, equally guarded, suggested there was a particular incident involving both cocaine and vodka during that same era, a dangerous combination that could have shattered his military career. Yet, once again, the powerful machinery of the palace allegedly stepped in, protecting him from the consequences that would have befallen any other soldier. This decades-long pattern of protection, of sweeping inconvenient truths under the royal carpet, has seemingly only allowed Harry to spiral deeper, unchecked by the very people who claimed to care. Fast forward to today, and what do we have? A man allegedly spiraling deeper into a crisis, while everyone around him, from his inner circle to the royal family, plays dumb, either actively enabling or passively ignoring the escalating situation. Meghan's allegedly setting up carefully crafted alibis. The palace is on red alert but won't utter a single incriminating word, and the mainstream press remains largely silent, content to print fluff pieces while the real story unravels behind closed doors. You think that's bad? Keep listening, because it gets even more complicated, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Meanwhile, the one person who has consistently stuck by Harry's side through every chaotic chapter, from the wild Vegas years to the current Montecito mess, is his loyal bodyguard, David Langdown. That man knows the full, unvarnished story, intimately familiar with Harry's struggles and the desperate measures taken to conceal them. He's seen it all, every high and every devastating low, every alleged cover-up, and now he's the one who reportedly made the courageous, life-saving call to get Harry the immediate medical help he desperately needed. But even with Langdown's intervention, the damage, both physical and psychological, may already be too deep, because this isn't just a one-time alleged or an isolated, regrettable mistake. It's a terrifying pattern, a slow-motion collapse that has been years, if not decades, in the making, and if these reports hold true, then everyone involved, from the alleged enablers to those who knowingly turned a blind eye, has a degree of culpability, of blood on their hands. There's a reason the palace is rattled to its core, working feverishly behind the scenes. When a royal, especially one as globally scrutinized as Harry, goes rogue in such a spectacular fashion, it's not just about image or scandal, it's about legacy, about the very stability of the monarchy. Harry isn't just a prince who made a few missteps, he's someone who was born into unimaginable privilege, shielded from the natural consequences of his choices for decades, and now stands on the perilous brink of something far darker than a bad headline. What happens next will shock you, but first you need to understand the true depth of the palace's desperation. If these reports are true, then what we're witnessing isn't merely a rebellious phase or a charming rogue, it's a man consumed by a lifetime of buried trauma, unchecked freedom, and, allegedly, toxic manipulation. And now it's reached a point where even the ironclad walls of the palace can no longer ignore it, or fully contain it. According to highly placed insiders, King Charles was personally notified the very moment Harry was admitted for emergency care. There was no official statement, no carefully worded press release, but phones were ringing in London all night. High-level calls designed to assess, strategize, and above all, contain. Behind the scenes, the royal machine scrambled into overdrive, not, it seems, primarily to fix Harry, but to ruthlessly contain the story, to prevent the real details from exploding into the public consciousness. Because if this blows up, if the truth about Harry's alleged struggles and the alleged enabling within his current circle comes fully to light, it doesn't just ruin Harry's carefully curated brand, it threatens to tear open the meticulously stitched narrative they've spent years curating about the royal family itself. And amidst this frantic damage control, all eyes are now turning to one pivotal figure, the woman who was allegedly nowhere to be found when her husband needed her most, Meghan Markle. The biggest twist here is that the palace's focus has dramatically shifted, and her alleged actions on that critical night may be the final straw that breaks her fragile connection to the royal family. All eyes are now fixed firmly on Meghan Markle, and if the rumors are right, if she truly did flee the scene the night Harry was allegedly found in such a precarious state, then the palace will not and cannot forgive that. Her absence doesn't just speak volumes, it paints a picture of someone not merely detached, but cold, calculating, and prioritizing image over the well-being of her own husband. The word now being whispered by those close to the situation isn't panic or distress, but alibi. She didn't run in a fit of fear, she ran to be strategically seen elsewhere, to create a public record that would insulate her from the unfolding disaster. She knew what it would look like, what the optics would be, and now that Harry's name is circling headlines tied directly to addiction, hospitals, and emergency response, the public perception couldn't be worse for her. The whispers inside court circles, which once focused on Harry's erratic behavior, have dramatically shifted. Now, it's Meghan being openly discussed as the real liability, the true destabilizing force. Her past connections, her alleged history, her profound influence over Harry, these are no longer dismissed as mere tabloid nonsense. Senior officials have reportedly started to meticulously re-examine events from the past 5 years, scrutinizing every decision, every public appearance, every private moment, searching for undeniable proof. They want to know how deep her alleged involvement truly goes. Did she supply the substances? Did she purposefully isolate Harry from his family, cutting him off from genuine support? Did she strategically build an ecosystem around him that ensured his dependence, thereby solidifying her control? And where does Doria Ragland, Meghan's mother, fit into all of this? she's largely remained a quiet, almost spectral figure in the background, rarely giving interviews or making appearances, always presented as the steady, grounding force in Meghan's life. But according to some insiders, Doria has a far more active and allegedly darker role in Meghan's life than people realize. If personal struggles were indeed part of Harry's alleged spiral, there's chilling speculation that Doria may have helped facilitate access, using her rumored connections to ensure a steady supply. Nothing is proven, of course, and these remain allegations, but the mere fact that these deeply uncomfortable questions are even being asked inside the most guarded royal circles shows just how serious this has become, how thoroughly the once unbreakable facade of the Sussexes has crumbled. Behind closed doors, lawyers are quietly preparing, not for a divorce, but for an unprecedented public fallout, anticipating a legal and public relations storm of epic proportions. If Harry doesn't recover fully, or if he finally speaks out about what has truly happened behind the gilded gates, this entire situation could explode, tearing through the monarchy like a wildfire. And if it comes out that Meghan played even a small part in his alleged downfall, that she actively enabled his demons or exploited his vulnerability, the palace will not shield her this time. They simply cannot afford to. Yet through all the chaos, the allegations, and the relentless media scrutiny, one heartbreaking truth cuts through all the noise. Prince Harry is not well. Whether it started with unresolved childhood trauma, spiraled through teenage rebellion, or was exacerbated by adult heartbreak and alleged toxic relationships, he is a man seemingly drowning in pain, caught in a relentless cycle of self-destruction. His deeply personal, intensely vulnerable story has been commodified, turned into a media circus, a Netflix special, a best-selling book, paraded for public consumption. But behind the cameras, the dazzling fame, and the carefully constructed fairy tales, there's a broken man who never truly received the consistent, compassionate help he so desperately needed. And perhaps that's the most tragic part of all, the most damning indictment of an institution that prioritizes image above all else. Because Harry was never just a rebel or a royal. He was a wounded soul born into a family that, by its very nature, prized duty and public perception over genuine healing and personal well-being. And now, the catastrophic consequences of that decision are coming back to haunt them, threatening to unravel not just a prince, but the very fabric of royal mystique. What does this mean for the future of the monarchy, and for the hidden lives of those trapped within its golden cage? The answer might be far more unsettling than we're prepared to face.